This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Hek'ma Harrison.
Oh, we've got ourselves a little bit of a ball game to decide here from AT&T Stadium. Yes, we're Whataburger Friday Night Stars, and this is the 6A Division I state final. Duncanville leading by 36-35 over North Shore. Now, we're not allowed to play this in its entirety because of course, Fox Sports Southwest and all the others that are involved. Lots of legal obligations. So we're going to go back and forth. We're going to switch back and forth. We are live from AT&T Stadium, live at 11 o'clock. Whataburger Friday Night Stars, the final show of 2018. Kyle Yeomans, Hek'ma Harrison, Eric Chiafalo, and down on the end, Mr. Zach Wolchuk. We're going to bring you into this game, but we're also going to give you highlights, updates, and of course analysis from around the final day of Texas high school football action in 2018. Guys, it's been an unbelievable day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and Hek'ma, I know you're real nervous right now.
We're about to have a heart attack right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I've lost my voice. Lozenges is not going to help me at this point. I'm just going to get through it. This is a game, guys.
Hey,
you should be here.
It's your duffel bag boys.
Stadium.
The duffel bag boys right now.
I mean,
all year long, Hek'ma Harrison, this man, he's been talking about it. They're 46 seconds away, one stop from winning a state championship.
Let's go ahead and look live. Broken tackles, third and four.
Oh, Zachary Evans is a man-child.
Looks like it's going to be a first down here for North Shore.
38 seconds.
Guys, I want to tell you this North Shore running back is everything that as advertised. Zachary Evans has taken the Duncanville defense to task all day long. I mean, he's had his way, and I don't think we've seen this all season long. The North Shore is a lot tougher than we thought.
Oh, no question. This is a Duncanville defense that gave up 4 points a game during the regular season. They've surrendered 35 tonight. This North Shore offense is incredible. There's a reason why. Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Hey, that D-line stepping up, though, now. This defense, they've given up more points the last 2 games than they did all year long.
Unbelievable.
But when it counts now in crunch time, they're asked to make one final stop, and they look like they're about to do it.
This has been as good of a game. Look at this hit. Oh, my goodness. And that's what it's been like all day long. We've talked about this Duncanville North Shore game. We talked about it yesterday on the show, and we were talking about how physical, how tough, how athletic both of these teams are, and we're seeing it in front of our very eyes tonight. We were on the sideline for much of the night. Well, now we're back up in the booth, of course, doing the show. But, man, you can hear the hits from here. We're going back to live action over the middle. Oh, it's caught. Past midfield.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what.
25 seconds, guys.
This sophomore quarterback is special.
The clock is running again down to 20 seconds now. Let's go live. AT&T
They're going to clock it. They're going to clock it.
Let's see where this is going to end up. 18 seconds left. The spike has been made. You're looking at North Shore coming out of Houston. Hek'ma, you talked about it yesterday. A lot of people are referring to this North Shore team as one of the top teams in the history of the Houston high school football era.
Yeah, look, man, the receivers, number 19 is a sophomore.
Banks, just a sophomore.
Banks is a complete stud,
he's a
ladies.
grown man.
Yeah, he is.
And
He's a burner. He's a burner.
And he's 15. So I don't understand what they're putting in the water down there.
The North Shore team came in today to AT&T Stadium, and they out-physicaled in a lot of ways Duncanville, which no one thought they can do.
And I do want to take a quick second to apologize to our viewers. This first part of the show has been a little bit of a mess, I understand. It's because we're all a mess from what is happening right now at AT&T Stadium.
It's mayhem.
And we're as invested in this game as you could potentially want to as high school football fans. Now they're past.
There he goes.
35 inside the 35,
11 seconds.
You know, a field goal does it. Now we've seen 2-point conversions have been big in this football game. I'm still not sure how good North Shore's kicker is, but he might trot out there to try and attempt a game winner.
We could see a walk-off fashion type of win for North Shore.
Right now, well outside of field goal range, ball At the 35.
The thing is you got to know with 11 seconds left, North Shore only has 2 options. I think they only have 1 timeout left at this point. Get a little bit closer to being able to kick a field goal or go for all the money right now. Just end it.
So Galena Park North Shore in their first title game since 2015. We talked about that yesterday. They also made an appearance in 2003. Now, none of those teams were as talented as what we've seen tonight. We've also talked about Zachary Evans, the top running back rated by a lot of recruiting services from around the nation for the class of 2020. He's been bottled up, or he was bottled up for the first half. He's since broken free a little bit, put some extra yardage on there. We'll look at the stats here in just a little bit, but right now a little bit of a timeout, a time to take a breather for both sides as Duncanville calls that timeout. Like you said, only 1 timeout remaining, 11 seconds on the board left here from AT&T Stadium. It's been an unbelievable day. Talking about wanting to see everything that you wanted to see from a football day. How about a three-peat? Highland Park and the Scots get a three-peat of a championship. A 99-yard touchdown run from an injured 5'7" quarterback in that ball game. An unbelievable game and a gutsy game from that Shadowbrook team, or Shadow Creek team. Then Westbrook, a gutsy game from that, a 1-point win for the Longview Lobos, their first win in a state championship in over 81 years. And we're looking at this here, free play, deep ball, and it's incomplete.
Demario Davis.
We are going to look at a couple of the highlights from that game overall from Highland Park. Just real quickly, we'll talk about this game in depth later, but real fast, we've got a game with 3 seconds left. Let's go back live here to AT&T Stadium. We'll go to Highland Park here in just a little bit. We're looking live at some of the referees. There are flags on the field. I believe it was offsides. Oh.
It's going to be a hold.
That's going to back North Shore up.
Yeah, and that's big. And they've got 1 play left. I mean, this is it. And I think, for Duncanville, their secondary, they've been susceptible to the deep ball at times in this football game, even dating back last week to Allen. Theo Weiss got them once. But I'll tell you, man, I don't have any doubt right now. When Duncanville has needed to get pressure and make a play on that back end, they've stepped up. I'm telling you now, the Duffel Bag boys ain't letting it happen. This is Duncanville's time.
This might be their time. Coach Samples looking for his first ever championship. And Hek'ma, I know you're sweating a little bit. We're gonna have to give you some.
If I don't see tears from you, I want this man to cry.
It's the lights.
Well, Coach,
unbelievable. Definitely not the emotions.
Hek'ma, of course, being coached by Coach Samples. What is going through your mind right now?
Man, I literally every guy that's ever played for this man right now, the 3 seconds left, is praying that he can win a state title just because of the kind of person that he is and everything that he's instilled in all of us. So, oh, man.
Oh, it's right here, baby.
Oh, man.
Well, let's look at it. Here we go. One final play on the way. Galena Park North Shore coming into this one.
Hey, you keep it in front of you. But I'm telling you, that defensive line's going to get some pressure here. They'll probably rush 3 or 4.
And double 19.
It's a 3-down set. You keep everything in front of you, folks.
This is it for the final play of the ball game. Launched up in the air by Davis. Back of the end zone.
Oh, my God!
Oh, my
no, sir!
Oh, my!
Well, all right, this will be reviewed. This will be reviewed.
Oh, my God.
There's no doubt about this. This will be reviewed.
A Hail Mary, Aaron Rodgers-esque.
Good golly, gosh almighty.
Back right corner of the end zone. There's 5 guys there.
Holy cow. Holy cow. A Hail Mary from the sophomore Davis.
This stadium is going crazy.
Did you guys see who came down with? Was that Banks?
It had to be Banks.
Was it Banks, 19?
It's been Banks all night.
Oh, man.
Why not one more time for the 15-year-old?
Wow. And this has been, look, replay's been a huge deal throughout these entire 4 days here at AT&T Stadium.
You're exactly right. The first year ever using replay, first time ever using replay in Texas high school football. Well, now we're going to get a chance to review this.
Oh, my goodness.
Hit the ground? I think that's a catch.
He lands on the.
He lands out of bounds. I mean, it looks like
A.J. Carter is the one that came down with the football.
Oh, my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Fellas, this is going to be close. This is going to be close.
That's
what a finish. I mean,
unbelievable catch.
And that's just.
Oh, my gosh.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Wow. Well, great show, everybody. It's been fun.
Yeah.
We're done.
Wow.
My God.
Thanks for everything. What a year.
Wow.
What a heartbreaker, guys.
If that play
That's
stands
the way
for
it is.
Duncanville, man,
that's the way this game has been.
I retract everything I said about 5 minutes ago.
No.
There's no way this Duncanville defense gives it up.
It took a miracle play.
It's the Panthers' time. Holy
And
smokes.
we're looking at replays on the monitors here at AT&T Stadium. We're looking at it.
There was a touchdown in the Highland Park game for Finn Corwin that I think we thought was a touchdown catch that they reversed and said wasn't a touchdown catch.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big. This is a big call. I mean, a state championship is on the line here, and reviews have taken their sweet time. I'll tell you that.
This one
Don't
could
hold your
take
breath,
all
ladies
night.
and gentlemen.
We might
Here
be
we go.
here.
Here's the call.
Actually, here we go. Wow.
Wow.
They're not overturning. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we might have just seen the greatest ending
Oh, my God.
to a high school football game in Texas high school football history.
My God.
That is unbelievable.
Oh, my.
That's why you do it. That's why you do it. I mean, it comes down to
finish.
one final play. You heave it up in the corner of the end zone. There's 3 Duncanville Panthers. There's 2 North Shore Mustangs. And the Ponies come up with the football.
And not only what a finish, but what a game through and through. This thing's been back and forth all game. These are clearly the 2 best teams in the state. The physicality, the size and speed that was on display tonight in this game is truly unlike anything I've ever seen.
Senior A.J. Carter is the one that came down with the football. That name, A.J. Carter, is going to go down in Texas high school football lore for the rest of time.
Absolutely.
Also, not to mention, he's never buying a meal in North Shore ever again.
No.
Hey, and how about that sophomore quarterback?
Unbelievable.
You know, he's heaving it up there. It's a prayer, but he put it in an area
Yep.
where he had 2 receivers that could go up and make the play. All you got to do in that situation, give your guys a chance. They rewarded that sophomore quarterback who was unbelievable today against a potential all-state great defense in Duncanville.
Yeah.
The performance by the 2 sophomores, Davis and Banks at receiver, were unbelievable for Galena Park North Shore, and Duncanville keyed on Zachary Evans. For the most part, he probably had his most ineffective game of the season.
Absolutely.
And it's still, North Shore found a way to win.
Yeah, Banks.
They found a way to win.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable game. 41-36, the final score. Coach Samples is yet to get that elusive title.
Yeah, I mean, it's
what a season.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaker. It all boils down to the fact that, I mean, you keep climbing back up the mountain, not getting over the top. One thing I know about Coach Samples and the kind of man that he is, he'll be back.
Oh, absolutely.
He always is.
This Duncanville team will be back.
He'll be back.
But that's gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it is.
That is gut-wrenching.
And you know what? But it's a life. The thing about it is, Galena North Shore, they practiced that play. They didn't come out just by happenstance that happened.
No
they
doubt.
practiced like that, corner of the end zone, Hail Mary, and it worked to perfection.
And the biggest thing about it, you look at the replay over and over and over again, Duncanville was in position.
Absolutely.
That was a defended play. They was defended well all the way through. They got pressure. They forced that quarterback in Davis to get up into the pocket to elude that pressure, and then ultimately make a throw like that in the back of the end zone into coverage. You got to credit Davis for making the throw. You've got to be able to credit Carter for coming down with the play. That was a North Shore victory. Duncanville did all they could. They fought back. They were trailing by 9 at halftime and were really kind of shut down. They had 11 yards passing in the first half, and the fact that they were able to fight back into this ball game and to be able to put up the numbers that they did in the second half to lead this, it was a tremendous football game back and forth, and really both sides, they deserve to be here. These were the 2 best teams in 6A Division I, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And you said it. The word fight is what comes to mind with both of these teams.
Absolutely.
Because they went back and forth all game long. And then it's a 1-point game. Duncanville takes the lead. The defense gives it up. Jaquindon Jackson and the offense go down with a minute left, get the score. Jaquindon Jackson needs to be carried off the field because he's left everything on the field. And then North Shore, with 1 minute left in the game, to go down there in 3 seconds, 50 yards out, to heave it like that. The amount of fight that both of these teams showed, not only for the season but for this game, is truly it's incredible.
It really is, and the ebbs and flows. When you start the game with a reverse attempt by Duncanville that gets fumbled, returned for a touchdown
First
by North
play
Shore.
of the game.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, that's the difference of the football game. Ultimately, if you want to go down to 1 or 2 plays, that play for Duncanville was an error that should have never, ever happened that we hadn't seen them make all year. But for them to have the mental fortitude to rebound, eventually come back, take the lead, they get down by 9, they come back, and you're 100% right, Eric. Jaquindon Jackson, an unbelievable performance. Yes, it was in a losing effort, but if there were a player that deserves to get offensive play MVP in a losing effort, it's Jaquindon Jackson tonight. Everybody in this stadium, including Galena Park North Shore, knew Duncanville's chance was on the back of 3. I should really say the legs of 3, because they took Duncanville's pass offense away, and Jackson took a shot early in that first half that might have, I mean, his shoulder looked like it was wonky. I don't know if that affected his ability to throw throughout the football game. It certainly seemed like it. But him and Tristan Smith and their ability to run the football, I mean, my heart goes out to the Duncanville Panthers, but those were 2 very deserving football teams that just fought a Goliath state championship matchup.
And you talk about the stat line for Jaquindon Jackson. Well, I've got the stats right here. 7 for 14 passing, 50 yards, or 50% passing, 43 yards. So passing-wise was not really that effective. Like you said,
not at all.
He suffered that hit early in the game. His right shoulder did not look like it was 100%. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit when we look at the highlights. But then rushing the football, he had no issue. 18 attempts, 226 yards, and then he had a touchdown to tack onto that as well. So overall, you look at what happened behind us. Both teams, we talked about it, they deserve to be here. But you look at the individual efforts as well. Jaquindon Jackson, you look at the efforts on the defensive side. Of course, Chris Thompson stands out. He made a couple big-time plays. That Duncanville defense made plays when they needed to, but it really came down to that final drive. Duncanville and the defense, they did what they needed to in terms of pushing them back. They had North Shore on their side of the 50, and then North Shore just came up and made a play.
Yeah, and you know what, Hek'ma, we were talking about it watching that final drive by Duncanville. You know, do you score? Do you wait to score? Do you try and milk this clock? And I said, guys, if the touchdown's there, you've got to take it. If you can't rely on your defense, if you're to ask any Duncanville Panther fan, you score with 1:02 left, and you just need one stop from that defense.
Put it on my defense.
They're going to take it.
Absolutely.
They're going to take it 10 times out of 100.
That's another thing that is really
100
special.
out of 100.
You know, so
that was a stupid goal.
It's like, what?
I was going to let that go. Well, you know what? The thing is, I don't think that in all the times we've been covering and talking about Duncanville's defense, we've seen them shredded like this tonight. The big playability of North Shore. I mean, anytime they needed it, they were able to dial it up. Even though they shut down the running game, you know, they unveiled a sophomore receiver that just took it out of Duncanville.
That's what's so impressive, I think, about North Shore is their 2 best offensive players for the game is their sophomore quarterback and their sophomore receiver. And these guys on the biggest stage played like veterans. And you look on the other side of the ball, too. Jaquindon Jackson, he's a junior. Tristan Smith, he's a junior. I mean, there's young guys all over the field
Evans
here.
Is a junior.
Zachary Evans, there you go. So some of the best players in this game were the young guys, and they stepped up when they needed to most. And that, to me, I mean, that's just so impressive.
No, it's actually absolutely impressive, and both of these teams are going to be right back contending to be back here at AT&T Stadium next year. Of course, last year during the UIL State Championships, what game stood out? Highland Park Manville, right?
Absolutely.
This is the one that's going to stand out from 2018. 2019, it's yet to be seen. It seems like every year we get a finish like this. I don't know if I've seen a finish like this in a championship game of this caliber in front of 50,000 plus at AT&T Stadium like we just did.
No, you know, last year's Manville Highland Park game was a classic. You could put this game right there.
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, look, it came down to a similar situation for Manville. They threw up a somewhat Hail Mary. It got stuffed at the 1-yard line. They got pushed back. This year, North Shore goes for the home run ball, and they get it in the corner of the end zone. I can't say that I've ever seen anything like that. To win a championship game like that, that's unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
It's about as storybook as it gets there.
Absolutely.
Boys.
And you look at, whenever you look around Texas high school football, and we've talked about this all year, you've got the Blue Bloods. You've got the teams up there like a Lake Travis, an Allen, the teams that you would normally think of, the first to come to mind, Highland Park, teams like that. North Shore's not necessarily there. They're not in terms of a Blue Blood program. North Shore's not a name that comes to mind. But with a win like this, on a stage like this, why not? Why not North Shore in that conversation? I know they might not have the pedigree championship-wise, but they might have just had the biggest win in all of
they
Texas
do now.
high school
I mean,
football.
you look at absolutely. You look at 15 and 18.
Yeah.
And the pedigree and the resume that you look at this year's team, you can make a case. Hek'ma, you said it on last night's show. This is regarded as possibly the best team to ever come out of Houston. And I think they put on a performance tonight against a team in the Duncanville Panthers that I think absolutely lived up to that billing.
The sophomore Demetrius Davis earning every single bit of that offensive player of the game. A sophomore. And making the throw when he needs it. And not only that, the throw at the end was incredible. That was the play that will be talked about until the end of time. However, the plays that he made leading up to that, on the drives when Duncanville took the lead, he drove right back and found the end zone. He made running plays when he needed to. Number 9 in the white was the difference maker for this North Shore offense, no doubt about it.
He was, and I'll tell you, both offensive lines in this game took over in various moments.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Duncanville had some long drives against a big, I mean, we were down on the field, Hek'ma was for most of the game. We were down there for the first half. You talk about offensive lines on both sides of the football and defensive lines.
Yeah.
I mean, these were Division I collegiate type of lines out on the field. These boys were big.
The size, man. And the size on both sides of the ball was incredible.
And both lines just took over. I mean, Duncanville got some pressure in the second half, but that line stepped up. Yes, it was a 3-man rush. They gave Davis enough time to make plays down the field. And the rushing attack for Duncanville, I got to say, you know, despite that they lost this football game, their ability to run the ball when they had no passing threat. I mean, they were essentially made a one-dimensional team, and it didn't matter. They still were able to just run right down North Shore's defense, which is a really good unit, and have tremendous success.
Yeah, that's a great point. That was what impressed me most from the Duncanville side of things. The fact that your offense becomes one-dimensional in this game against a really, really good defense in North Shore, and you're still able to run the ball when everybody knows you're going to run it. Everybody knows it's either 9 or 3, and they continue to find the end zone.
I love that scene. Coach John Kay lifting it up in front of a North Shore faithful, that championship trophy. Well-deserved from a coach that's building this program. They're not done yet. We talked about that a moment ago. But John Kay, not necessarily a household name he needs to be.
He will be.
He absolutely needs to be.
Well, and he had his boys. Oh, absolutely, Kyle.
They had unbelievable creativity, playmaking-wise, and then also just getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights from this classic of an absolute slugfest.
This one right
of
here,
a football game.
that's the first play of the game.
That's the first play of the game. And I'll tell you,
Scoop and score,
Coach K deserves a lot of credit for having North Shore ready to go. They were comfortable. The moment did not seem too big for them. They seemed at ease and playing within themselves from the get-go. Duncanville took a little bit to get into it, but this play here from Jaquindon Jackson, as soon as he kept going, it seemed like it really calmed the entire Duncanville sideline.
That first quarter between these two squads was as good as I've seen in a long, long time. 22 points for North Shore, 17 for Duncanville. The second quarter kind of calmed down a little bit. Saw some more defensive plays. You see this one trying to reach for the corner. He was able to get there, big-time rushing touchdown, and of course the North Shore fans loving it.
What a big run right here.
This was an outstanding run. That's exactly what got Duncanville back in the ball game. Runs like that, big plays like that, and then you of course get it finished off at the end. But then you look at really the second quarter, defense has shined, and then this man shined as
Banks
well.
was so good today.
The 15-year-old, boys and girls.
His speed was sensational all game long. It caused a lot of problems for an outstanding secondary. And the one question I have, and Hek'ma, we talked about it last week, where was Marquez Beeson? I feel like he was off the field at times, and Duncanville rotates, and a part of me respects that. They're going to play their defense. They don't let any offense dictate to them. But when you have one singular player that's hurting you like that, I think you got to put your Illinois commit over there and say, you know what, we're putting a mano-a-mano. This is our best guy against your best guy. Come beat us.
And they did. And the thing about it is the sophomore beat him too. Yeah. And that just shows you how good the kid is. And they, at some point they even went in and they just basically double-teamed the guy and kind of shut it down. And that's where you have the emergence of number 4 right there at the end. The senior gets all the love after 19 sets the table up.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Carter goes home the MVP when Banks is the one who did all the dirty work all game.
He set the table up, man, I tell you.
Tristan Smith had an unbelievable game, number 9 there for Duncanville. But, man, that read option and that play right there, to be able to have that defensive lineman come in, another senior coming to the game.
And we talked about creativity as well.
Out the backfield, and North Shore kind of saved a lot of it for that fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
They really stuck to that read option kind of approach on offense, and Duncanville had some drives where they had defensive success, but when it counted in that fourth quarter, they opened up the playbook, and, man, they executed to perfection. That little delayed screen to set up that touchdown late in that fourth, that was a thing of beauty from Killian Park North Shore, man.
Absolutely.
And then this is toward the end of the football game here. That last drive, stepping up. This is the final play of the game. That's what ended it and won it as A.J. Carter sends North Shore into absolute hysterics.
And everybody knew
on
it.
the sideline. There's some of the final stats. You look at it, 509 total yards compared to 488. I would not have imagined 500-plus yards against this Duncanville team 3 weeks ago, but that shows exactly the explosiveness that North Shore has and what the Mustangs were able to do passing the football, 333 yards. But also look at that North Shore defense, what they were able to do with only 43 passing yards up against Duncanville. That's tough to do.
And that really is impressive as Duncanville's offense was, being able to be one-dimensional and still finding success. I think that's a little bit of the difference in this game when North Shore is able to be a little bit more balanced.
Yeah.
Their running wasn't unbelievable. Henry in that rushing attack got held a little bit more than what they're used to, but they're able to run the ball, at least have a threat of that, and then they're throwing of over 300-some yards, the big chunk plays down the field. That's the difference, that Duncanville has to mostly grind out drives unless they pop a 50-yard touchdown run, but for the most part, they got to grind out drives. They really got to try hard to score. North Shore might just throw a 60-yard touchdown in 2 plays, and that's sort of the difference.
Wearing down the defense, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that keeping Duncanville's defense honest is what they did. They were never at a point where they abandoned the run, even though they were not having success. They still went to it time and time again. The one thing about it is, guys, look, it's hard to lose this way. It really is. It's hard to lose this way. And if you can think of any state championship that you've ever seen or been a part of, it's really hard to lose on a walk-off Hail Mary.
Unbelievable.
Well, especially for Coach Samples, and you know this. In 2004, he gets there with Lincoln, and they lose on a blocked field goal in double overtime, correct? And then you cut back here in 2018 with a great Duncanville team, and you lose on a heartbreaking Hail Mary.
I'm going to tell you something, guys. The thing about Coach Samples like myself, man, we from Oak Cliff. We don't lose, we learn. We don't lose, we learn.
And he's got a great –
he'll be back.
And he knows he'll be back. I mean, he's got a loaded squad next year. We talked about all the underclassmen on both of these teams, man. Yeah. These teams are young. I mean, they're star players on both units. You lose to Braylon Carroll, which is a big loss on defense. I believe Stacey Brown as well, the outstanding safety.
Yep.
Beeson we talked about, but they get a lot of starters back on defense.
Yeah.
And those two key cogs on offense, Jaquinton Jackson and Tristan Smith.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this Duncanville team as, like you said, a loaded crew of guys returning. Well, we've got a loaded crew as well. We'll be returning here in just a little bit. We're going to take a break. But when we come back, we've got Miles Dunklin, who's down on the field getting interviews as we speak with our boy Anthony. Man, he's been killing it as well. We're going to give a lot of love to Anthony. But Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo, Hek'ma Harrison, Kyle Yeomans here live from AT&T Stadium. We're all a little shaken up. We just saw and witnessed one of the best finishes in Texas high school football history live. We'll talk about it again later, but believe it or not, there were 2 other games that happened here today, and they deserve a little bit of talking as well. We'll be back here in just a moment here on Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
Hi, I'm Al Bernay of Al Bernay's Restaurant Group. My experience of getting my car through Audi Dallas could not have been better. We do so well here at Al Bernay's because we really do care about attention to details. I appreciate when people really know how to give you hospitality and make you feel important. And Audi Dallas, they have it down. You enjoy being there so much, it's like, I don't want to leave. It's unbelievable customer service. It was just perfect. Audi Dallas is really what a luxury dealership should be.
The customer service is really unparalleled. I've never seen anything like it with any other company.
The emblem, it just says a lot. It means, hey, I bought from Sewell.
They listened to what I had to say and actually cared about my experience.
Every once in a while, you want to be spoiled, and Sewell does that.
It's not just a transaction. That's the thing about Sewell.
I will always drive a Sewell.
Discover our wide variety of new and certified pre-owned vehicles at Sewell Infiniti.
When I think Lexus, I automatically think Sewell.
When I look at a license plate that says just Lexus, I'm like, oh, that's good for you. When I see a Sewell on it, I'm like, you know what I know.
I show up and I have my crew with me. They acknowledge me and they acknowledge my children, maybe give them a high five.
You get more than you expect. You get the wow factor at Sewell.
Discover our wide variety of new and L-certified Lexus vehicles at Sewell Lexus.
Back here from Whataburger Friday Night Stars, looking at some of the highlights from the first game today, kicked off at 11 o'clock, Highland Park, winning 2 straight championships back-to-back last year with, of course, the classic win over Manville and the Mavericks, and, well, they did it again today. Big-time win for the Scotties as they pull off an unbelievable first half, putting up 24 points on the board. They led 24-9 at halftime over Alvin Shadow Creek. Of course, Alvin ISD, home to the Manville Mavericks, the team that they beat last season in the championship, and a classic finish there. This one not necessarily as much of a classic, guys, but Highland Park wins their 3rd straight championship, finishing the first ever 16-0 season.
Corwin play was so unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. 27-17 was the final score. Highland Park first ever 16-0 season for the winningest program in Texas high school football history. We were here for this one. We were invested in this one. Man, it was a good game. And honestly, after it was 24-9 at the start of the ball game, Shadow Creek fought back. They absolutely did. They were back in the ball game in that fourth quarter, had a chance, even with the ball, to make it a one-possession game and try and end up making this at least a little bit closer than what it originally looked like it could have been. But credit to Shadow Creek, first-year varsity program, Highland Park, with a huge win, their first ever back-to-back-to-back, an unbelievable game.
Yeah. Shadow Creek played an outstanding game. They fought back, but, all the credit literally goes to Highland Park's defense.
Unbelievable.
Because Highland Park's defense literally shut down anything that Shadow Creek tried to do. And it was a game that, honestly, I know you guys will touch on this, that Chandler Morris didn't play his best, but he didn't need to.
Yeah, he was still the MVP.
Right. Because the
still 3
supporting
touchdowns,
cast, the supporting cast did everything that they need to do in Highland Park. What a great, championship victory. 3 state championships in a row.
Tough to do.
And looks like they'll be back.
Yeah. Another team, you look at their offensive and defensive MVPs, Chandler Morris, just a junior. He'll be back, 3 touchdown passes for him. And you're right, Hek'ma. I mean, we've praised Chandler Morris, but we can also be fair and critical. He definitely left some plays out there on the field, but he made them when he needed to. Prince Dorba, 4 sacks, the defensive MVP, 9 sacks as a defense for Highland Park today. They set a UIL state record. They were all over Jamarian George, who, give him a lot of credit. He took a beating. He had a 99-yard touchdown run that brought Shadow Creek back in it. They got a defensive stop. It seemed like maybe they had some momentum, but the Highland Park defense came up with another big-time stop. And I think from top to bottom, they were without a doubt the most complete football team in 5A Division I this year.
Yeah, and you looked at that from the 16-0 run already, the way that they took care of Denton Ryan, the way that they came back against John Tyler earlier in the state quarterfinals. This is a Highland Park team that we knew was complete. But one of the things that we've talked about in Coach Randy Allen, he's a living legend. He was on that sideline. Everybody knows that. If you're in the stadium, you know who Randy Allen is, especially if you look on the other side, the head coach for Shadow Creek, a former Randy Allen disciple who was actually a quarterback for Randy Allen while Allen was in Brownwood. But you look at the way that, like you said, Chandler Morris, 23 of 35, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's a good stat line. It's not a Chandler Morris stat line. He was named yesterday our Whataburger Friday Night Star of the Year, the MVP of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But you look at the star of the game today, and I was honestly really surprised when I didn't hear Finn Corwin's name called as that offensive MVP. 12 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown receiving. He had the 75-yard reception. That wasn't even a touchdown. He was stopped at the 3-yard line, but it set up another score for Chandler Morris inside that 5-yard line. The way that Finn Corwin was able to play today, a career high in receptions, the way that he was able to run with the football after the catch initially, he had an unbelievable game. We saw the highlight. Eric, you pointed it out in the middle of the package.
Oh, yeah.
He had an unbelievable play. The guy he put on skates at the goal line, a Houston signee from earlier this week. So he's done it against everybody, and Finn Corwin definitely deserves a lot of credit for what he did today.
Yeah, he showed up in the biggest stage, and he's a touchdown machine his whole career. I think he scored his 30th career touchdown in the state championship game today, and he was unbelievable. And I think the passing game for Highland Park was absolutely where they had to win the game. Only 88 rushing yards. You know, Chandler Morris didn't have the greatest game ever, but he didn't get much help from his running game. So he had to do quite a bit. Guys like Finn Corwin had to carry the load, and they absolutely did that. A Highland Park team, they don't beat themselves. You know what I'm saying? They come into this, they're battle-tested 3 years in a row now. The experience is there, and they absolutely showed it. You know, some of these teams out here in the state final, you'll see them make mental errors left and right. This is not a Highland Park team that's going to do that. And they went up against a tough team, a tough defense, and they absolutely came and showed up today. And the quarterback, all credit to George on the other side of the field. Man, that 99-yard touchdown run he had was fantastic. And Doorball said it after the game. He said, listen, the whole plan was just try to keep him in the pocket, keep him contained, because when he gets out, we know he's kind of the guy that gets everything going for him. And he still got out, 99-yard touchdown run. But for the most part, they were able to contain him. 9 sacks, as you mentioned. Friggin' that's
unbelievable.
That's pretty. That's,
4
I mean,
alone
a state
for Prince
championship.
Dorba.
Yeah. 4 for Dorba. That's impressive stuff.
Patrick Turner, a guy who kind of emerged as a star on that Highland Park defense, had an outstanding game. The fact that you saw number 20 and number 34 in that backfield, 32 rather, Prince Dorba 32 in that backfield as often as you did, that was as impressive as it was, because Shadow Creek's offensive line is no slouch. That's an offensive line from Shadow Creek that they pride themselves on, running the football, being able to block for George, like you said. And Hek'ma, you and I were standing next to each other kind of talking back and forth. We're like, hey, the way that this defensive line's been getting pressure on Shadow Creek, backed up to their own goal line, there's no way that George is going to get out of here. He looks a little bit hobbled. His left knee definitely not at 100%. Actually had a brace put on his left knee after this play, but then he sprung the 99-yard touchdown run, shook a couple defenders in the second level, and then broke free. An unbelievable run. Like you said, if you want a poster boy or a poster play for gutsy football, just in general, that's one you got to look at.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you someone that watched cartoons, there was smoke bubbles behind that kid when he took off. He was out of there. I mean, it was nothing after that. But it was a gutsy performance, like you said. But it almost seemed as though the lights were a little bright for Shadow Creek.
To begin with, I agree.
From the beginning of the game.
First-year program, I mean, when you think about the run that they had, I think they were predicted to finish 6th in their district. Their kicker, of all things, plans a trip to Africa in the beginning 6 months ago. They don't think they're going to make it to the state championship. Their first year as a varsity program. Well, they're here. They don't have their starting kicker. He's in Africa. They've got to put in, I mean, they missed their first extra point to start the game. When you look at the run that Shadow Creek had, unbelievable season for them. Their inaugural year, they end in the state championship, and they just come up against a heck of a football team in Highland Park. But I do want to go back real quick to Finn Corwin, because we've talked a lot about receivers on the show. You know, when you look at Jackson Smith over at Rockwall, Theo Weiss at Allen, Trajan Bridges at Hebron, I mean, the list goes on and on. There's been a lot of good receivers. But I think it's time to put Finn Corwin in that class among Texas elite.
Absolutely.
You look at the stats that he's put up, he's a money man. You need a play in the clutch. Highland Park, and as good as Chandler Morris is, as deep as they are, they look to 16. And that's going back to last year's state championship in Manville. It's a 4th down. Where did John Stephen Jones go to across the field? Finn Corwin. He doesn't make that play. Highland Park doesn't have a three-peat. He was a big reason they were able to get it done today, and he deserves a lot of praise for a tremendous high school football career.
Man. He's just a football player through and through. Not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, not the strongest guy, but he just knows how to play football. He threw one earlier in the game.
Yeah,
he did a trick play
it was
where
a
he's throwing
dime,
the ball.
too.
He can run the ball. I mean, the guy does everything. He even played corner a little bit this year when they were in a pinch. And I want to get back to that defense because they forced 4 turnovers.
That's huge.
And Hudson Clark at the cornerback position, and then number 11, who I can't remember his name, but he had the dagger.
Winfield.
The finisher. Whitfield. At the end of the game to intercept it and really just put the finishing touches on that game. He had 2 picks, and that's just a Highland Park defense that came to play today, and they absolutely dominated. The first touchdown they gave up was because Morris threw the pick, and they had a short field, and it was an easy score for Shadow Creek. But otherwise, the defense was unbelievable. And back to the offense for 1 second on that Finn Corwin touchdown, which was just the highlight of the whole day. Paxton Alexander makes the block. springs
huge
the whole
block.
thing. Absolutely
So
great
glad
block.
you mentioned
and
that.
That's just something about Highland Park. These guys, it's the small things. It's the little details. Wide receivers blocking downfield. They do that kind of stuff. And when you do that, Paxton Alexander, you spring
Paxton Anderson.
Excuse me.
There's a lot of there was a Paxton Alexander last year. Easy confusion.
Absolutely. But no, just credit to you, Paxton, because that was a great block, and that sprung what might be the highlight besides the Hail Mary we just saw down here. Might be the highlight of the whole day here.
You're absolutely right. And you talk about the winningest in the tradition of Highland Park. Win number 832 overall as a program. Coach Randy Allen not only 2 wins away from jumping up into a tie for 3rd place in all-time wins as a Texas high school football coach. On the other side, then you had Shadow Creek and the run that they had, an unbelievable run defeating Wagner in that semifinal game, getting to the finals in order to get to a chance to win the first ever championship for a first varsity year team since 1982. The team that did that, Beaumont Westbrook. They were in action today against Longview. Let's talk about that game as well. You look at the Longview Lobos, and this is a team that hasn't won a championship since, 1937?
81 years.
81 years for the Lobos.
For the Longview Lobos. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from that matchup because this was a dogfight as well. Westbrook came out early in this football game, and they did not disappoint at all. Actually, if you look at really the way that they were able to look at the opposing sideline, okay, the official report said 48,000. I'm calling baloney.
No,
there's no way that Longview. I think Longview had 48,000 by themselves.
Longview showed up in droves.
Was absolutely packed.
Yeah, I don't know what the population of Longview is, but all of Longview was just here at AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, you weren't getting any errands done in Longview today. All the shops and stores were closed. They were all at AT&T.
One of the things I definitely believe in is that traveling Longview high school team. I mean, these guys showed up in droves, but that team is an absolutely physical team. Those guys played with so much heart, and Beaumont gave them every reason to quit. But that was a fantastic game before our nightcap.
Well, one of our favorite guys to talk about all year long has been who?
Haynes King?
Haynes King, baby. And he definitely, he had his struggles, especially early on in the football game. He did not look like himself. We were talking about it, looking back and forth going into that second half. We were like, hey, what's been wrong with Haynes King? Missing throws that he would not normally miss. He did not look good in that first half, but he was able to turn it back around.
Yeah, and that's coming after 2 games in a row where Haynes King in the passing offense for Longview hadn't really got off the ground. They were less than 100 yards passing the last 2 games heading into this game. So there's a little bit of pressure on Haynes King coming into this one, and we knew he was going to have to step up big because there was going to be a lot of points scored in this game, and that's exactly what happened. He ended up stepping up. He left some plays on the field, but he put the ball where it needed to be multiple times, and Camden Perry, the man of the hour for that Longview football team, that dude was big play after big play all game long, over 200 receiving yards, 28-something yards average per catch. I mean, the guy was everything for them, and I think ultimately this game comes down to the big plays for Longview. That's really where they flourished. They weren't able to run the ball as well as they had been with Williams and with Anderson as they've been throughout the season, but today they did it through the air, and Perry, absolutely dominant, is the big plays for them, and they needed it down the stretch. Only a 1-point victory for Longview, but they get it done.
Yeah, and Camden Perry, 8 catches, 218 yards, a touchdown, a long of 77. He was really the go-to guy for Haynes King. He had that first half, you talked about it a little bit there, Kyle. He was missing some wide open throws.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it was just touch. He was sailing it a little bit high, and that also might have been the entire city's here. The crowd and the atmosphere at AT&T Stadium was electric. A lot of it could have been nerves. I mean, this is a huge stage. There's a lot riding on this young man's shoulders, and he's only a junior. But he came up with some huge plays in that second half. And for a lot of that football game, I think you could say Beaumont Westbrook outplayed Longview.
And that touchdown run right there by King was massive.
He did it not only with his arm but with his legs. And Jesse Anderson, you're right, Eric, they did struggle to run the football some, but they got into the red zone, and Anderson was the money man. You see Camden Perry there, who's a senior and will graduate, but Haynes King and the Longview Lobos able to break that streak. 81 years, no more. They are state champs, and he'll be back for his senior ride next year.
35-34 that final score, and you mentioned Haynes King trying to pick something up back in that third quarter, or really the second half in general. 16 for 27 overall, 423 yards, 2 touchdowns. How about 400-plus yards? The majority of that chunk came from that second half.
And we talked about it yesterday on the show about how the Lobos had been winning in the playoffs with their running game when everyone has been looking for Haynes King to be dominating, to be dominating in games, which he hasn't been. But today he made up for it. Came out nerves, like you said, a little bit rough, but when he needed to make the throws, he made all the great throws. And credit to the Lobo program for getting that monkey off of their back.
Man, you look at the celebration. That's awesome. That is a lot of fun to look at. And John King, of course, the head coach, and he got a big-time Gatorade shower, gets to finally lift that trophy. And in lifting the trophy, also lifting the monkey, so to say, off the back of Longview, you look at the fact that they hadn't won it in 81 years. Well, now they've got that title, and they did it by a one-point victory, a victory in where they came back late and they scored that touchdown. They weren't leading for the majority of this game. That was a Westbrook game for the most part, and then at the end they were able to kind of surge back to where they needed to be in order to win this football game, kept themselves in position, and Haynes King was able to get the job done. Just smart play overall, and you look at Longview, man, congratulations to Lobo. They definitely deserved it.
No doubt. A lot of mental fortitude, and their defense gave up some rushing yards in that football game. Not only Elliott, the quarterback, had a lot of success for Westbrook. Jacoby Holland had a really good game, but their defense stepped up and made some plays in that second half when they needed to. And Haynes King, the man of the hour, we had a lot of high expectations for him, but he stepped up, like you said, Hek'ma, and made some pinpoint, dime-accurate throws when he had to. And how about Keelan Williams? You know, Eric, you pointed out the struggles to that running game, but when they needed one last play, one last first down, they give it to Keelan Williams, and he gets the job done.
Yeah, absolutely got the job done, and really it was a collective effort from Longview overall. You look at the four guys who ran the football: Haynes King, Williams, Jesse Anderson, Caden Meredith as well. Like, it was anybody and everybody who was on the docket to try and make a play for Longview today, and because of that, it allowed a little bit of a fresh look for Coach King and company to be able to keep those play calls fresh and be able to lead Longview to a big-time victory.
Absolutely. Their passing attack was huge for them today, and at the end of the day, it comes down to, I thought Beaumont was going to win the game about in the fourth quarter. I thought the Longview defense was just about broken because Beaumont had out-physicaled them all game. They ran the ball so well, almost 400 yards of rushing. That Longview defense stepped up in the fourth quarter after they were absolutely exhausted and got ran over all game. And I looked to Walchuk. I was like, man, I think Longview's done. I think they're gassed. They ended up getting a stop, and then Haynes King in that offense goes down and do what they do best. And again, it's all credit to Camden Perry, because even early in the game when Haynes King wasn't hitting it where it needed to be, he takes a 10-yard catch and he goes 75 for a score. I mean, his after the catch ability is just incredible.
Yeah.
Camden Perry.
When they invented the game of football, how did they know how many narratives were going to play out throughout the game? I mean, Walter Camp had to be a genius when he invented this game, because, man, if you look at every last game that's been played here over the last couple of weeks, I mean, the narratives are crazy. There's always something happening in the course of a football game that makes you say, wow, I've never seen that before.
Wow, we love football.
And that's why we love football. But, I mean, just in that game with the Lobos, I mean, you look at that and you say, wow, Beaumont is doing everything to win this game. But then it all comes down to those last minutes, not turning the ball over, time of possession, being able to do all of the little things to get that victory. And shout out to the Lobos, they did it.
It's crazy because the ending of that Galena Park North Shore Duncanville game will completely overshadow everything that happened here today.
Yeah.
But that Westbrook Longview game was awesome.
Absolutely.
It was. A 35-34 win for Longview. Westbrook gave them all they could handle, and Longview just had to find a way to scratch and claw for that victory, man. Today was awesome. Those last two games, 6A Division I and Division II, were everything we could have asked for and more.
Yeah, 6A definitely stole the show today. 6A Division I more likely stealing the show for really the rest of time whenever 2018 is talked about in terms of a UIL state championship weekend. We're going to take one more final break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up 2018 season. We're going to take an in-depth look again at that Duncanville North Shore finish, where North Shore wins it on a Hail Mary to close out 2018 in the 6A Division I championship. Yeah, it's still hard to believe, but Hek'ma, I'm right there with you. We're going to come back and we're going to look at some of the highlights. We're going to go through some of the interviews Miles Dunklin has talked about, and we'll put you forward to 2019. We'll be back in a little bit live from AT&T Stadium. This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars.
The customer service is really unparalleled. I've never seen anything like it with any other company.
The emblem, it just says a lot. It means, hey, I bought from Sewell.
They listened to what I had to say and actually cared about my experience.
Every once in a while, you want to be spoiled, and Sewell does that.
It's not just a transaction. That's the thing about Sewell.
I will always drive a Sewell.
Discover our wide variety of new and certified pre-owned vehicles at Sewell Infinity.
Hi, I'm Al Bernay of Al Bernay's Restaurant Group. My experience of getting my car through Audi Dallas could not have been better. You know, we do so well here at Al Bernay's because we really do care about attention to details. I appreciate when people really know how to give you hospitality and make you feel important. In Audi Dallas, they have it down. You enjoy being there so much, it's like, I don't want to leave. It's unbelievable customer service. It was just perfect. Audi Dallas is really what a luxury dealership should be.
When I think Lexus, I automatically think Sewell.
When I look at a license plate that says just Lexus, I'm like, oh, that's good for you. When I see a Sewell on it, I'm like, you know what I know.
I show up and I have my crew with me. They acknowledge me and they acknowledge my children, maybe give them a high five.
You get more than you expect. You get the wow factor at Sewell.
Discover our wide variety of new and L-certified Lexus vehicles at Sewell Lexus.
Back here from Whataburger Friday Night Stars, and oh my gosh, look at some of the scene after North Shore just absolutely stuns Duncanville on a last-second field goal. The score still stands. Not field goal. Hail Mary. A separate two-word phrase for the game of football.
Roger Staubach built that play.
Oh my gosh!
Calling it the Hail Mary. I mean, wow, how fitting is that, right?
Scoreboard still reads 41-36, and honestly, I know they need to leave it up all night because that was one of the best endings that has ever happened in the history of Texas high school football, especially in a state championship game. But we looked at really all of it unfold live, and we're about 10 minutes away from concluding 2018 and the entire Texas high school football season of 2018. Guys, is this what's going to stand out to you when you think back at this year?
Yeah, I would have to imagine so. I mean,
it's a loaded question, Kyle.
He loaded.
There's a lot to
ponder.
Kyle, go ahead and talk for a while. I'm going to think about this.
My God.
I mean, when you have a storybook finish such as that, Kyle, I think that's the one that we're going to be looking back on as we head into 2019. That's certainly going to be the moment in the play that gets talked about, as you said, forever when we talk about 2018, but especially heading into next year. I mean, this is going to have a bad taste in their mouth for the next 6 months, and they're not going to be able to get it out.
Boy, I wouldn't want to play Duncanville week 1 next year.
Oh, by no means.
They're going to get an angry Panther bunch that's been stewing on this and ready to come back with a vengeance next year, and that's really the best thing to do. You take this loss, it's going to hurt. You're never going to get over it. You'll be thinking about that play for the rest of your lives, most likely. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but like we've talked about, you got a core group of most of your players back next year. You use that as extra motivation. And Hek'ma, I mean, you pointed out Coach Samples isn't going to let this one get him down. He's got a job to do. They'll be right back next year.
Yeah, this is tough, and I'm not going to. I can't sugarcoat it or word it any different. It's tough, and I don't want to take this.
I can see the tears coming.
Don't do it. It's just the fact that, you know, I was pulling for him. I knew that he had the team that was going to get him there. But at the same time, guys, you know, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out for Duncanville this year. They had an absolutely outstanding team. The defense was, I mean, hey, we gave them a nickname. We called them the Duffel Bag Boys from week 1 all the way through. They defeated Allen. You know, there's so many different things that you can say about this team. But the champ is going back to Houston, Texas. And like you said, if Duncanville has anything to go off of, they were 3 seconds away from being state champs.
3 seconds away.
Oh, that hurts. But, you know, credit to North Shore. But I do think Longview's win, the eruption and the outpour of support from that Longview side, when that final play happened, they took those knees to run out the clock, and they realized, you know, 81 years, which is a really, really long time. They're finally state champions again. as epic as that ending was with Galena Park, North Shore, and Duncanville, that one resonates with me on what makes high school football so great and how it can impact a community.
Hey, I got one for you, though. You know, for all of the young men that played this weekend and weeks before, if you're from this area, if you're a Cowboy fan, you grow up dreaming of playing at Cowboy Stadium. I know I did. Texas Stadium, the Cotton Bowl, all of those places. So regardless of victory or whatever, they're never going to forget playing here. And so that's one of the things that I know a lot of these teams are going to take with them. Obviously, you want to win the game, but just being in this atmosphere has just been absolutely special.
You talk about the memories that are made here. Of course, a memory that's going to stand out is A.J. Carter pulling down that pass to end the ball game in the back corner of the end zone. That's going to be something that stands out in Texas high school football.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I know.
Sorry, we got 6 more months, baby.
We're not going to let you talk about it. We're going to let Miles Dunklin talk about it. He had a chance to catch up with A.J. Carter after that game on the sideline. Let's take a look.
We got A.J. Carter. A.J., what did it feel like? What did the team say when you guys went down as they scored in the final minute?
Man, it was just a blessing. We kept forward with the effort. Hey, it's a big team win.
Hail Mary, final play of the game. You come up with the state championship winning play on the final play of the game. What did that feel like?
Oh, man, it's joy. It's hard work. All that's hard work.
What was it like playing in front of this atmosphere here today at AT&T Stadium?
Crazy. Never experienced it in my life. The best experience ever in my life. This is history right here.
Finally, you're a state champion. What does that feel like?
I don't even know. I still don't know the feeling yet.
And tell me about how your sophomore quarterback played today for you guys.
Oh, man, awesome, man. That guy there, something serious. That's the beast right there.
And that Duncanville defense, one of the best in the whole country. You guys are able to put up 41 points today on them.
All work, team. That's a team effort right there. Never give up until the clock says 0-0. The game's not over until the clock says 0-0. You never stop working hard, and things like that happen. Team.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
Hey, there you go, man. There you go.
Well, the clock definitely hit 0, and as soon as it hit 0, he pulled down a magnificent catch. A.J. Carter, the hero of the hour in terms of really the entire season of Texas high school football, as he's able to pull down a catch like that. Guys, I mean, that's something incredible. Miles Dunklin, great job on the post-game interview. I'm sure A.J. Carter was a commodity at that time because, man, like he said, this is the best moment of my life.
It's history.
It's history, exactly. And honestly, I don't disagree with him. If I had a catch of that magnitude, I'd be saying the same exact thing.
No, it's a complete out-of-body experience at a moment like that. I mean, it's the best moment of your life. Absolutely.
How's it feel? I haven't had time to really process this right now.
Yeah, I don't even know how it feels.
Was I in bounds? Did that count? Are they going to come take this gold necklace away from me?
Hey, what is my name again?
Yeah, exactly.
Where are we? Where are we? Who do I play for? Was that a state championship?
You are a state champion.
My goodness.
That's exactly what's happening, and he will always be a state champion. But we're going to leave it with that. That's what we're going to talk about. That's going to be the final subject of 2018 in the Texas high school football season. 41-36, the final score here from AT&T Stadium. Do want to take a second and thank everyone for Whataburger Friday Night Stars. This is the first season of Whataburger Friday Night Stars. Of course, we started this 17 weeks ago in a little town called Frisco, Texas. Maybe not the littlest town called Frisco, Texas.
Little headquarters.
Just a little headquarters called the Star in Frisco, and a little rundown old Frisco Star podcast studio. Just kidding. Chris Beam hooked us up. Fred Garner hooked us up. What a season it has been. 2018 will forever be in my heart, will be forever in all of our hearts. For all of those that were involved, for every reporter that went out to a game, we had reporters all season long reporting live from the best games from around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, for all the crew that was involved, whether it was Matt Kent or Chance Williams or Anthony or Miles or Cookie, Troy, Fred, it doesn't matter. There was a whole cast and crew all year long. Doug was there. I mean, everybody was involved at least at some point throughout the season. We do want to take a special moment and thank everyone who helped Whataburger Friday Night Stars happen.
Real MVPs.
It was an absolutely incredible season. Guys, thank you, of course, for helping make this happen. Zach, Eric, Hek'ma, man, it was a blast being up here with you guys. But 2018 has come to a close. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be an absolute wreck because there's no football in terms of high school football to watch. Of course, the Cowboys will play on a field back here somewhere at some point tomorrow, so I'll probably be watching that one. But overall, what a season it has been.
It's been a magical ride, boys. And I'll tell you, when we started in August and I had to meet Hek'ma Harrison for the first time, I didn't know that I'd fall in love with a co-host over here.
It was a bumpy road with you
These three guys, man, they made it fun. and we had an unbelievable group that made it happen. Kyle, you just went through so eloquently.
Thank you.
And listed it all off. But really, we do this for the fans. I mean, if it weren't for the love and support for Texas high school football and the growing interest in it, I mean, you look at the attendance here today at AT&T Stadium, you can tell nobody does it bigger than high school football in the state of Texas, and we're just trying to be a small part of bringing you that action.
Felt like a Sunday here at AT&T Stadium.
It did.
Yeah, it did.
It was intense.
Yeah, I want to. If I can add anything, guys. Obviously, this has been magical. We have talked football, my favorite thing to talk about, for 17 weeks, and I look forward to next year. Next year being bigger and better. Also, talking about everybody's baby that's got a helmet on in the state of Texas. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to bring it to you live, and we're going to be better than everybody else.
Amen.
I love you.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I love you.
I love you. What a season it has been. Whataburger Friday Night
Hek'ma, I love you.
Stars. Once again,
you too.
Yes!
for everybody involved. Before it gets out of hand here at AT&T Stadium, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back in 2019. Be able to stay up to date with us on social media. You can like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter as well. It has been an absolute pleasure. For the final time here in 2019, for Fred Garner, for Chris Beam, for Matt Kent, for Chance Williams, for Cookie, Troy, Miles, Guy, Anthony, for my boys Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Hek'ma Harrison. I'm Kyle Yeomans, once again saying so long from AT&T Stadium.
This is Whataburger Friday Night Stars, presented by Game On Sports, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, and the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Here's Kyle Yeomans, Zach Wolchuk, Eric Chiafalo, and Hek'ma Harrison.